The struggle of the people who have lost their livelihoods or had to close their business, personified in Yvonne, the household worker who lost some of her day's work and her children unable to connect to school online because they are without devices. In Anthony the farmer, in St. Anne, or the unnamed vendor who prior to COVID made a living selling bag juice at a school which is now closed. These, you come into Joe.
That's at a different place.
These representative stories must be told. They must be told. And be debated in this forum. Indeed, we must never forget the poor and the marginalized. People must be the center of policy. It is important that our constituents understand that we are aware and we understand the struggles they face, which are now made worse by the pandemic. However, politicians should do more than just playing politics with poverty. Parliament must do more than just talking about the struggles of the poor. Governments should not add to the burdens and struggles of the people because of bad policy and maladministration. For decades, the struggling people of Jamaica tuned into these budget debates with great trepidation and fear that a new set of taxes will be added onto their basket of burdens. Madam Speaker, it gives me great pleasure to say that this administration has not added to the tax burden of the people. And for Jamaica, it is no ordinary achievement, given our high debt profile of our public finances and the significant impact of the pandemic on our economy, that we can deliver a budget in the midst of crisis and say, no new taxes. But, Madam Speaker, more than no new taxes is the fact that we have been able to say we are giving back taxes to the people, making their burdens lighter. We care not in words, but in deeds. We have instituted the largest emergency social support program in the history of Jamaica, the We Care program. Which great credit must go to the minister, the very able Minister of Finance. Which last year gave over $10 billion of direct cash support in a structured and accountable way to persons who lost income and livelihoods or who were otherwise economically vulnerable. And in this budget, we have continued the We Care program with $8.1 billion in various targeted cash givebacks and support modalities. This is within the larger $60 billion social and economic recovery and vaccine for Jamaica program, the SERVE program, which is designed to support Jamaica's faster, stronger, and better recovery from the pandemic. Through good policy and better management of public finances, we have been able to give back to the people, lightening their burdens, allowing them to keep more of their pay by increasing the income tax threshold to 1.5. Don't forget that. Reducing transfer tax, removing asset tax. Shouldn't forget that. And we should not forget that last year we returned $14 billion to the people by reducing GCT by 1.5%. For the first time in a long time, Anthony the farmer and Ivan the day's worker did not have to worry that their government would cost them more and increase their burdens. As bad as things have been during the pandemic, Miss Dorothy, the retired midwife, Marlon, the taximan, and Valerie, the room attendant at the hotel, knows that we are right there with them in the struggle, making the burden lighter, not just talking about our professed love for the poor, but demonstrating meaningful care and tangible solidarity with the hard-working people of this country who fight the good struggle every day to achieve their prosperity. Madam Speaker, the narrative of those who would seek to use poverty for political gains assert that nothing is happening in Jamaica, no progress is being made in the perpetual struggle of the masses for economic freedom and development. This is not the case. In the last survey of living conditions, 2018 recorded a poverty rate of 12.6%, a decline of 6.7 percentage points. And the lowest rate recorded since 2008. Today, as presented in the budget, every Jamaican is reaping the dividends of sacrifices made since 2009 and the commitment to fiscal discipline and strong public administration. Jamaica today is in a far better place than we were 10 years ago. And while we must admit that at the individual level, the feeling of progress may not be evenly experienced. And this is part of the perpetual struggle for personal prosperity. We encourage people to stay in the fight. You know, the leader of the opposition read out a very well-written letter of a young lady, you know, who was a WhatsApp. And very touching, and I get my fair share of those. And I would say to the leader of the opposition, encourage her not to give up. Help her. Help her. Help her. But struggle is a part of life. See, the problem is, Madam Speaker, is that we confuse struggle with suffering. And once you start to do that, then the business of self-pity come in. I struggle every day. It's a good struggle. We're struggling to overcome.
But not a sufferer.
So yes, we are not all equal. But we are never stopping our aspiration. We are never stopping our ambition. And we are never going to give up on life. So, Madam Speaker, the Jamaican state is in a far better position today than 10 years ago. And that is demonstrated in our ability that even in a pandemic, that we can give cash transfers. We can make real social investment in education, health, housing, and security. Something that would be unheard of before. Madam Speaker, the narrative of the politics of poverty does not highlight the enterprise, industry, and creativity of the people in the struggle for their prosperity. It strips the people of their agency, their right, independence, responsibility, and desire to find solutions to their own problems and overcome in the struggle of life. You see, Madam Speaker, the political philosophy of the Jamaican Labour Party is that we believe that people have agency. Absolutely. Meaning that they can determine their own fate. They can take instrumental action to better themselves. The deep and abiding principle of that is that from your labor, you can create wealth. From your labor, you will eat bread. We believe in the potential of the people. Our job is not to share up the wealth and give it to them. Our job is to help them to create the wealth for themselves. We on this side don't believe in the raid the barn philosophy. No, we are the ones who plant the corn. Madam Speaker, the politics of poverty portrays our people as helpless, hopeless, and hapless, just waiting for government or some foreign entity, some external entity to provide the solution. While we accept that dependency and victimhood is still a part of our culture, most Jamaicans are ambitious, some overly ambitious, and are not waiting on the government to find solutions. They are creative and they are finding solutions to their own problems. They are finding ways to adapt and bridge gaps. Like Karen King, principal of the Little Bay Primary School in Westmoreland, who ensured that his students in remote areas had access to lessons by personally delivering and collecting, sometimes on the back of a motorcycle, specially printed worksheets. Like Tanika McCoy Phipps, a teacher at Union Gardens Primary that I believe is in the constituency of Southwest, St. Andrew. You know, she was a particularly touching story. I met with her. She, Madam Speaker.
Prime Minister's time for speaking has expired.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Prime Minister's time be extended sufficiently for him to complete the presentation today. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
The question is that the Prime Minister's time be extended sufficiently to allow him to complete his presentation. Those in favor?
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, members, for the extension. At the point of the break, Madam Speaker, I was bringing to your attention Tanika McCoy Phipps, a teacher at Union Gardens Primary, who was concerned for her children running about the community unsupervised when her school was closed. She took it upon herself to create notice boards in the surrounding communities on which she assisted with her daughters, and I met her daughters. It's a lovely family of teachers. Wrote down daily lesson plans and lessons for children or parents to copy and use. She also mobilized parents to give them support and training on how to teach and stimulate their young children. Principal King and Teacher Phipps did not only complain about the digital divide or allow the absence of internet access to prevent their children from learning. They took responsibility, exercised agency, and independently developed and executed solutions. Hundreds of thousands of Jamaicans are doing that every day in their own little way. The story of our struggle is not only about hardship and failure, but also about our determination, instrumentality, and the victories that we have had. These stories